Last week, Kath, we spoke about having an open and a closed mindset. And,
Yeah.
went away from that conversation and really started thinking about it and realizing, it really doesn't mean that by having an open mindset that we are not people with beliefs, perspectives, opinions that we don't hold on to. It doesn't mean that we live this wishy-washy going, oh, let's be curious about this. Oh, we're going to go in that direction and be here and there and everywhere. It
Yeah.
means that yes, we want to have an open mindset because we're more interested in understanding and being curious and being compassionate and empathetic. However, we often have really strong perspectives, really strong opinions, and it's important that we don't lose them. It's important that we back ourselves. And so today I thought, let's have this conversation about our perspectives and having the ability to, how do we have this open mindset yet have a perspective that we can hang on to when we know that's what we want to hang on. Like sometimes we just know, right? There's situations, there's
Oh, that is
life where we
so,
want to
yeah,
hang on
yeah.
to it, but we want to carry it well. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. And it's a really great topic to bring to the conversation because I think this kind of thing comes up daily,
Mm,
in life.
mm,
And I mean, just last week we had a situation and
yeah.
I'm going to share it here. And so we've got grandparents visiting us from South Africa. They're
Hmm.
out here for a period of time. And we live down in Adelaide, so they've been with us in Adelaide. And then we all went up to the sunny coast to be with the bigger extended
Yeah,
family,
sure.
cousins, aunts and uncles,
Yeah, the
and our
works.
children, yeah, and our children as well. So a lot of people, a lot of fun, a lot of conversation, a lot of everything going around. And then the last evening we had down on well, up there, up in the Sunshine Coast area, I thought it would be really lovely to have a dinner with our nuclear, family,
Mm,
just as a just time to just be
yeah.
the kids, their grandparents, and
Yeah,
Greg and
beautiful.
myself. And so my perspective on this was that I think this is really important because
Mm,
dynamics are very different when it's only you.
mm,
And perhaps, there were things that would, to hear, to share, to just make a memory, that
mm,
potentially could be a last memory
yeah.
of all of us together around the table because this doesn't happen often at all.
No.
And on the way to dinner, we met with an extended friend, and my mum-in-law lives really generously, very open, and she
Beautiful.
said, I really feel like we need to invite this other person to dinner.
Mm,
And that was her perspective, was always
hmm.
be open and, don't exclude people and include people and invite them. And yet, my
Mm,
perspective was different because it was in this isolated incident. I thought it was really important to just be our nuclear family.
yeah.
So, that is an example of different perspectives. And it wasn't
Mm,
that I was right and she was wrong, or she was right and
no.
I was wrong. It's two perspectives that simply are different,
Mm,
but lead to different outcomes.
mm.
And I think I was able to. I paused.
Well done.
Luckily remembered the pause and then was able to share my thinking around,
Mm,
why I had planned this evening just to be us, but then
mm,
extended and said, look, if you'd like to invite the other person still, after having
mm.
heard, my perspective still, and, I'm okay with you, it's your evening,
Yeah,
you're
sure.
the visitors, and however
Yeah.
you want it to pan out. And so we did end up inviting this extra person. And look,
Hmm.
it was a lovely evening. And
Mm,
it maybe not quite what I had seen and envisaged, but nonetheless, it was fine. And I think that's
yeah.
also just an example of um, how complex it can be to navigate
Mm,
life with people because
mm,
we are, the other person, whoever is, whoever you're with
mm.
thinks a little bit differently to what you think, and is going to have a
Yeah.
slightly different perspective on life to what you have,
Yeah.
and on story and circumstance and situation.
Yeah.
And so it's how do we navigate this
Yeah.
without getting all uptight and angry and throwing tantrums and being all
Mm,
grumpy. And so yes, I still feel like I still today have this conversation and feel like I hang on to the perspective I had.
mm.
And I'm smiling now because I kind of feel I was right. But nonetheless, happy to then I could
Yeah.
see her perspective and I could understand her
Yeah.
perspective. And I thought this is just more, this evening is for her probably more than it is an evening for me. So I was happy to
Yeah.
go, okay, let's go with what you
Yeah.
want rather than fight it, but still
Yeah.
back myself in it.
Perfect. It's hard. You've spoken before, Kath, about being a people pleaser, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
so how I kind of feel like there's these fine lines here because often I want to please people. I just want to keep it smoothly sailing. I don't want to cause any bumps in the road or conflict or anything. So I'll just go with it. But as you're sharing how that night unfolded, I can see how, had you been a people pleaser, you wouldn't still, because what did you say when we first started our podcast? Your introduction was called you're a what people pleaser, like a not reform
Recovering.
recovering, and I can see that you are because had you not been a recovering people pleaser, you wouldn't have put your opinion forward, you wouldn't have shared your perspective, you would have just felt it and just gone with it, and then the attitude that we then show up is a
Yes.
completely different attitude to had we shared the perspective like you did, and you can go, you know what? I've shared it, but it's okay, and I'm okay to go with your perspective. It's a complete different shift in our attitude.
Yeah. And it did. It felt again, I think we all want to be heard.
Yes.
So being allowed, and I mean, kudos to my mum-in-law. She allowed me space. She listened
Mm,
when I shared my
mm,
perspective. It
mm,
wasn't like she discounted, she acknowledged my perspective and she said, I can understand where that's coming from. And she
mm,
actually said, thank you. Thank you for organizing
mm,
this for us. And
mm.
then I said, but and then I said, shared, I can see your perspective too, and I'm happy either way you choose,
Yeah.
let's decide on, in the moment.
Mm.
So you are right. There's a difference to keeping it all inside, but then
Yeah.
you're grumbling on the inside.
Yeah, and resentment can, and bitterness,
Yeah.
and all of this can build up. I'm just reminded in my early years of teaching, I had this kind of a moment where some kids had been fighting in my class, and there was a much bigger story behind it. This one girl just wanted to be friends with these other kids. She didn't know how to be
Um,
friends, and these other kids were just like, this girl's being mean because she was doing all the wrong things of trying to be
yes.
friends. Like she would walk past them and tap them on the back of the head because she just wanted their attention because they weren't talking to her. And yet she just loved them and wanted to be friends. Where there's like,
Yeah.
oh, she's being a bully and being really mean. And I remember trying to navigate this situation in the class and trying to sort it. And then the parents of the kids that were upset with this little girl
Yes.
came in to have a conversation with me. And I remember teachers just saying to me, people just want to be heard. They want their perspective to be heard. Because I was quite
Yeah.
nervous. It was early in teaching and I didn't know. And I wanted to back this little girl. She wanted to be their friend. And I wanted to go to bat for her because my perspective was she wants to be their friend. We've got to help her. We've got to da 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just realized no. So what you said before, where when you said your mother-in-law allowed you to be heard, I think that's powerful because in this meeting I sat down and I heard these parents' perspective. I
Yes.
allowed them to share it, and it was in allowing them that space to be heard that then it kind of softened because the moment people feel heard and understood and it was I was trying to create a judgment free space at the time. Inside
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling judgment free, but I was trying to present that space. It then provided space for me to share a different perspective. And so then everybody, all the parties could understand each other and we could go away with a bit of a plan and a way to move forward. And so I think that's a really great key that you raised there about hearing, about
Yeah.
creating a space to hear other people's perspective.
And also to feel understood, because I felt
Mm,
like she understood me, and I think she felt that I understood her. Well, hopefully she
hope so.
did.
Yeah.
And so it actually just took away any of the, like the gritty factor
The
kind of just went
conflict.
away. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, the perspectives were still different, but we were each of us, I think, okay with each other's perspective. And
Mm,
so, and that takes being open-minded,
mm,
you know. And I
mm,
think but this can pan out in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. I mean, I
mm,
love what you shared with your example too. But I'm just reflecting on another example of how different perspectives can play out is
hmm.
the perspective. So I've also been recently in other work that I've been doing, felt really challenged,
Okay.
and challenged to the point where, like, I wake up with this, I mean, this is a strong word, but it's a sense of like dread in my gut for the challenge
Mm,
ahead.
yeah. Wow.
And the narrative inside the perspective is,
Mm,
this is hard, this is a challenge.
mm,
And then I was having a chat to my brother the other day, and he, like, just bless him. I just, have so much respect for him. And he just said to me, "But what if it's an adventure?"
yeah.
And I just thought, wow, that just feels so different.
Yeah.
So the perspective, oh no, what did he say? I think he said, "Oh, it sounds like you're on a bit of an adventure," is what he said. And I
Mm,
thought, that's interesting. I'm sharing
the
like it's a challenge,
language.
it's hard. And he's like, "Oh, that sounds like, you're on a bit of an adventure." And him just saying that has just helped me to at least pause long enough to ask the question and
Mm,
go, "Oh, what if I could see this as an adventure rather than a
yeah.
challenge?"
Yeah.
And just how inside my body that just feels so different,
Yeah.
So sometimes the awareness of different perspective can be helpful when, you're conversing with other people, but sometimes it's the story in your head.
For ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. I listened to a Mel Robbins podcast actually this morning, and it was something like the 8 sentences or 8 things you should say to yourself every day kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
But what was really cool about it was exactly what you're saying around the language and what we're setting ourselves up for. And one of them, I think I did I write it down? Just quickly looking. Um, there was a couple that reflect on what kind of your brother was saying to you. Like, no matter, one of the things to say is, no matter what happens today, I can handle it. Like,
Yeah.
saying that to ourselves compared to, this is a challenge, it's too hard, I'm dreading this, I can't do this. Two
Yeah.
very different perspectives, two very different attitudes that create a complete different emotion, leads us
Yeah.
to completely different action. Things like, another one was, an exciting new chapter in my life is starting today. Like, imagine getting up out of bed and thinking, something exciting, a new chapter can start today. And then your brain is automatically looking for moments where it can be that new moment, that can be the start of a new chapter, where something cool happens, and you're like, oh wow, that's where it was, because our brain goes
Yeah.
looking for it. And so you're exactly right. The language that we use completely shifts our perspective on our own life, on the information we're receiving from other people, and it gives us a complete different lens to see the world around us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, the message today then is, part of having an open mind, as you say, it's not being wishy-washy or not having
Mm,
a perspective, or not, not
mm,
having been able to kind of back yourself, not at all. But it's rather than that, it's noticing the perspective you have,
yeah.
and then getting curious about your perspective and
Mm.
going, how well is this perspective working for me?
Yeah, is it helping?
You
Is it
know?
resourceful?
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's not, knowing that, you know what, that's okay, because
We can
there's
choose
always
it.
there's always a different perspective to choose.
Mm,
Yeah. So, and then similarly, in conversation with others, recognizing that, if we, again, just aware that there's more than one perspective, as you say,
mm,
our brains are then looking for that. And then whatever someone else says that's so different to what we're feeling, you'll receive that as, oh, this is just another perspective, rather
mm.
than as, oh, they're
An
against me.
attack.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
Mm. And I think if we were to look at the world and social media and all of that today, and I'm certainly not getting into that right now. However, that is how the world is seeing other people's perspective as a personal attack on each other rather than a space of, ah, that's an interesting idea. Hadn't thought about that, or just
Yeah.
allowing people to have their own opinion and a different perspective. And that's
Yeah.
what makes us all so different.
And how beautiful if you hear someone saying something like completely different to what you've thought, rather than you reacting to that and going, oh, that's not true.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to say, oh, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. I've never looked at it
Never
like that
thought
before.
about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, that just feels so different. It's received
Yeah.
differently. It feels different saying it.
Mm.
And it just opens up the conversation.
Yeah,
It
love
doesn't
it.
mean that you've got to agree with the other
No, and
person.
you don't have to change your perspective. Mm.
No, but it's
Mm.
just been open to go, oh, that's interesting. Thanks for
Mm.
sharing. Like you've broadened the
Mm.
way that the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
you've perhaps learned something new about, I don't know, people or the world around you or just attitudes
Yeah,
or whatever
and
it
I
is you've
think
learned.
Yeah, and I think just practicing noticing
Being
different
kind.
perspectives also, yeah, it does. It opens up to just practicing. Because look, having this sort of more open mind and being open to different perspectives, it's like a muscle that takes working and takes
Yes.
practice. And unless we're aware of it and we choose to look, as you say, you choose to look for it, and then your brain goes
Yeah.
looking for it.
Yeah.
And then the other lovely thing is if you in the space of, oh, well, that's great that you've got a different perspective. Like I
Mm.
invite a different perspective, even if I don't agree with it, and happy
Mm.
to disagree or happy to hold both perspectives and let's go be curious together and see,
Mm.
is there a third other perspective that we still haven't, figured out. I
Yeah.
think it just creates a much kinder, more
Mm.
loving way of being
Yeah, agreed.
than the sort of it's my way or the highway kind of
Mm.
way of being. Yeah.
Mm. And it's certainly not, for me, it's not necessarily all that natural. It's becoming more natural because I like to be quite intentional in this space. However, I
Yes.
think having these conversations over the last couple of weeks is really helping me to become again aware of, okay, where am I at with all of this? How can
Yes.
is there an area that I need to shift or really notice when I get that feeling? Because I get it in my gut. I
Oh,
just
yes, yes.
instantly, I feel it and I can just, my emotions and, you start to trigger it in my face and, um, but it's to be aware of that and go, hey, what's really going on? What is it here that's causing this feeling, this state at the moment? And to be
Yeah.
curious. I think it's a really great conversation. So I love that we've had these conversations the last couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to not ignoring it and sweeping it under the carpet when I get those feelings, to be curious
Yeah.
about it and go, okay, what do I need to do in this space? Do I need to back myself? Do I need to become more curious with what somebody else is saying? Do I need to check out my own attitude, what I'm saying to myself, the language that I'm using with myself?
Yeah.
What's really going on here? And I think, that just opens the door to more and more growth every day.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh.
Elle, once again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so
Mm.
much. And yeah,
Love
you've
our
definitely
chats.
given me I feel like I'm walking away with food for thought here. I'm going to go away and
Mm,
do a little bit
agreed.
of reflective, I don't journal that well, but maybe a little bit of reflective journaling today.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, bless you, mate. And we'll talk again soon, hey? Have a
Cheers.
great week.